The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for over 10,000 years. Their massive ships traveled between thousands of worlds, and their technology seemed like magic to lesser species. Emperor Dorn sat on his crystal throne, bored with the easy conquests of the last century. His empire needed new worlds, new resources, and new subjects to rule. "Your Majesty, we have found a new planet on the edge of Sector 7, said General Pike, kneeling before the throne. "The creatures there call it Earth." Emperor Dorn leaned forward slightly, his golden eyes narrowing. "Tell me about these creatures." "They call themselves humans, Your Majesty. They have basic space travel, but nothing impressive. They have one small colony on a red planet in their system, and some mining operations on floating rocks. They are primitive compared to us." The Emperor smiled. This was the kind of news he enjoyed. Primitive worlds were easy to bring into the Empire. Sometimes they didn't even need to use weapons. Just the sight of Imperial ships was enough to make most species bow down. "Send Ambassador Krell to meet them. Offer them our standard terms." General Pike bowed and left to carry out his orders. 3 Imperial scout ships entered Earth's solar system a week later. They were sleek, silver, and larger than anything humans had built. Each one was the size of a small city, with weapons that could turn a planet to dust. On Earth, the governments came together in an emergency meeting. "They're just sitting there, beyond the moon's orbit," said Defense Minister Taylor, pointing at the large screen showing the alien vessels. "They've sent a message requesting a meeting." President Ward looked at the faces around the table. Some showed fear, others curiosity. "We need to be careful. This is humanity's first contact with alien life. We must appear strong, but not threatening." After much debate, they decided to send Captain James Jones of the Earth Defense Force to meet with the alien ambassador. Jones was a tall man with a serious face and steady hands. He had been chosen because of his calm nature and quick thinking. Jones traveled to the meeting point in Earth's best ship, the EDF Defender. It was the pride of Earth's small fleet, built just 3 years ago. Next to the Imperial ships, though, it looked like a toy. Inside the largest Imperial ship, Jones was led to a meeting room. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and the air smelled like metal and something sweet he couldn't name. Ambassador Krell entered the room. He stood 7 feet tall with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes were like black pools, showing no emotion. "Captain Jones of Earth," Krell said in perfect English, having learned the language from Earth's broadcasts. "I bring greetings from Emperor Dorn, ruler of the Galactic Empire." Jones nodded politely. "I bring greetings from the people of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your empire." Krell smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "The Emperor is generous. He offers Earth a place in our great empire. Your people will serve as loyal subjects, and in return, you will receive our protection and some of our lesser technologies." Jones blinked, surprised by the blunt offer. "I'm sorry, but Earth isn't looking to become anyone's subject. We're interested in peaceful trade and cultural exchange as equals." The smile dropped from Krell's face. "You misunderstand, human. This isn't a negotiation. The Empire has claimed your world. You may join willingly and keep some freedom, or resist and be conquered completely." Jones stood straighter. "I have no authority to surrender Earth to anyone. Our people value their freedom above all else. I must bring your offer back to our leaders, but I can tell you now they will not agree to these terms." Krell's black eyes seemed to grow colder. "Your primitive species doesn't understand its place in the galaxy. Perhaps you need a demonstration of Imperial power to help you decide." Before Jones could respond, Krell turned and left the room. Jones was escorted back to his ship and returned to Earth with the Imperial message. 2 days later, while Earth's governments were still debating how to respond, the Empire made its move. One of the Imperial ships broke from formation and headed toward Eros Station, a small research outpost in the asteroid belt with a crew of 200 scientists and miners. Earth's military tracked the ship but could do nothing to stop it. Their fastest vessels would take days to reach Eros, and their weapons were not designed for space combat. At Eros Station, Dr. Miller was recording data about mineral samples when the alarms began blaring. "What's happening?" she asked, looking up from her work. Station Director Banks rushed into the lab, his face pale. "There's an alien ship approaching. They're not responding to our hails." They rushed to the control room. On the main screen, they could see the massive Imperial vessel moving closer. "Send another message," Banks ordered. "Tell them this is a peaceful research station." The communications officer tried again. "Approaching vessel. This is Eros Station. We are an unarmed research facility. Please respond." The only answer was silence. Then a bright beam of light shot from the Imperial ship. When it touched Eros Station, the entire structure began to glow. Metal melted, air vented into space, and in seconds, the station was gone. 200 lives ended in a flash of light. Earth watched in horror as their first deep space outpost vanished. The Imperial ship returned to its position near the moon as if nothing had happened. "This is an act of war," said General Moore, slamming his fist on the table during the emergency meeting on Earth. President Ward looked at the faces around her. The shock and anger were clear. "We can't fight them. You saw what they did to Eros with one shot. We can't surrender either," said Defense Minister Taylor. "They killed 200 of our people to send a message. If we give in now, we'll never be free." Jones, who had met with Krell, spoke up. "The ambassador seemed surprised when I didn't immediately agree to their terms. I think they expected us to be like other species they've encountered, easily intimidated." President Ward stood up. "Then we need to show them that humans are different. Contact every nation. As of today, Earth stands united. We will pool our resources, our knowledge, and our determination." Within days, the Earth Defense Alliance was formed. Every country pledged their military and scientific resources to a common cause. Old enemies became allies with a shared purpose: to protect humanity from the stars. In secret facilities around the world, scientists and engineers worked day and night. They studied everything they knew about the Imperial ships from scans and observations. They developed new technologies and weapons. 6 months passed. The Imperial ships remained in orbit, waiting for Earth's surrender. Ambassador Krell sent regular messages demanding submission, each one more threatening than the last. But Earth didn't surrender. Instead, they prepared. In an underground base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Blake stood before Earth's response to the Imperial threat. It was a single ship, unlike anything humans had built before. Its hull was black as night, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Its shape was strange, not the sleek design of the Imperial vessels, but something more angular, with odd protrusions and seemingly random patterns across its surface. "Is it ready?" Blake asked the chief engineer. "As ready as it will ever be," the engineer replied. "We've incorporated everything we could learn from observing their ships. The rest is based on theories and some educated guesses." Blake nodded. "Then it's time to show the Empire that destroying Eros Station was the biggest mistake they ever made." The ship, named Thunder of Terra, rose from the ocean depths. Its mission: to take the fight to the Empire and show them that humans would not bow down. The first battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin, and the Galactic Empire was about to learn a painful lesson about humanity. Imperial Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Unyielding Force. As the leader of the Empire's border outpost in Sector 84, he was used to routine days monitoring the stars. Today was different. "Commander, we're picking up an unknown vessel approaching from the direction of the human system," reported Officer Toole, his three-fingered hands moving rapidly over the control panel. Vex frowned. It had been 6 months since Ambassador Krell's visit to Earth. The humans should be preparing to surrender by now, not sending ships toward Imperial space. "Show me," he ordered. A screen lit up, displaying a small dark ship moving steadily toward them. Its design was unlike anything Vex had seen before, all sharp angles and odd protrusions. It looked almost primitive, yet something about it made his skin tingle with warning. "Scan it," he commanded. Officer Toll ran the scans, then looked puzzled. "Sir, the readings are strange. I'm not detecting any standard propulsion systems. The hull material isn't registering in our database, and there's some kind of energy signature I can't identify." Vex squinted at the image. "Size comparison. It's small, sir, about 1/10 the size of our cruisers, but the energy output is unusually high for its size." "A scout ship, perhaps," Vex said, more confidently than he felt. "Open communications." The screen changed to show the bridge of the approaching vessel. A human stood there, tall for their species, with short gray hair and a face marked by age and experience. The human wore a simple dark uniform with a single silver star on each shoulder. "This is Admiral Blake of the Earth Defense Alliance vessel Thunder of Terra," the human said calmly. "I request an audience with Emperor Dorn regarding the unprovoked attack on Eros Station." Vex almost laughed. A primitive species demanding an audience with the Emperor. Because of one small outpost. The arrogance was astounding. "Human," Vex replied, "this is Commander Vex of the Imperial Border Fleet. Your planet has been claimed by the Galactic Empire. You have no authority to make demands. Return to your world and prepare for Imperial occupation or be destroyed." Admiral Blake's expression didn't change. "We hoped for a diplomatic solution, Commander. Your empire came to our home uninvited, made demands, and killed 200 innocent people when we asked for time to consider your terms. Those deaths were necessary to demonstrate the consequences of defiance," Vex said dismissively. "One small station is nothing compared to what we could do to your homeworld." Blake nodded slowly. "I see. Then I must demonstrate something as well." Vex had enough of this conversation. "You have 1 minute to turn around, or we will open fire." "I understand," Blake replied, and the communication ended. Vex turned to his weapons officer. "Lock all weapons on that vessel. If it doesn't turn around in 1 minute, destroy it." The minute passed, and the Thunder of Terra continued its approach. "Fire," Vex ordered. Brilliant beams of energy shot from the 3 Imperial cruisers surrounding the outpost. They streaked through space toward the small Earth vessel, and then something impossible happened. The Thunder of Terra moved. Not the slow, predictable evasion of normal ships, but a quick, darting motion that reminded Vex of insects from his homeworld. The human ship simply wasn't where the beams hit. "How did they?" Vex began, but Officer Toole interrupted. "Sir, they're moving toward Cruiser 2. On the screen, the Thunder of Terra accelerated toward one of the Imperial ships. It was so small compared to the massive cruiser that it looked like a fly attacking an elephant. "Cruiser 2, destroy that ship," Vex commanded over the comm. The cruiser fired again, but the human vessel twisted in space, avoiding every shot. Then it got close, too close for the cruiser's main weapons to target effectively. What happened next left everyone on the bridge speechless. The Thunder of Terra extended what looked like mechanical arms from its hull. These appendages latched onto specific points of the Imperial cruiser. Seconds later, the cruiser's lights flickered and died. Its engine shut down. It drifted, powerless. Before Vex could react, the human ship detached and moved toward the second cruiser. "All ships, concentrate fire," Vex shouted. But it was too late. The pattern repeated. Impossible evasive maneuvers, mechanical arms attaching to crucial systems, and another Imperial cruiser dead in space. Vex stared in disbelief as the Thunder of Terra approached his own ship. His weapons officer fired desperately, but the human vessel slipped through the barrage, as if it knew where each shot would go before it was fired. The mechanical arms extended once more, attaching to the unyielding force. Vex felt his ship shudder. The lights dimmed, then came back at half strength. Emergency systems activated, but weapons and main engines remained offline. A communication request flashed on the screen. With trembling fingers, Vex accepted it. Admiral Blake appeared again. "Commander Vex, your ships are disabled, not destroyed. We could have killed everyone aboard, just as you killed our people at Eros. Instead, we chose to show restraint." Vex could barely speak. "What? What do you want?" "Deliver this message to Emperor Dorn. Humanity will not surrender. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves. Your ships will regain power in 12 hours, enough time for us to leave and enough time for you to consider your options." The communication ended. On the screen, the thunder of Terra turned and accelerated away, quickly disappearing from their sensors. Officer Toole looked at Vex with wide eyes. "Sir, there's no way that was a human warship, right? They're primitive. They couldn't have built something that could defeat 3 Imperial cruisers." Vex stared at the empty space where the thunder of Terra had been. "Send a priority message to the Imperial Council. We have a problem." News of the encounter spread quickly through the Empire. In the Imperial capital, a special session of the Council was called. Ambassador Krell faced the angry members of the Council, trying to explain what had happened. "You told us they were primitive," shouted Councillor Dras. "You said they would surrender after a simple show of force." Krell bowed his head. "Their technology was primitive when I visited them. They had nothing like the ship Commander Vex encountered." A new voice spoke up, quiet but commanding. Intelligence Officer Reed walked to the center of the chamber, carrying a datapad. "Council members, I've been studying what we know about humans since first contact. There's something you need to understand about this species." The room fell silent as Reed activated a holographic display showing images of Earth and its history. Unlike most species we've encountered, humans evolved as persistence hunters. They didn't have claws or fangs or natural armor. They survived by outlasting their prey, by adapting to any situation. Reed swiped to new images, human conflicts throughout history. More importantly, humans show a remarkable pattern. Their greatest technological leaps occur during times of conflict. What takes other species centuries, they accomplish in decades when threatened. Councillor Trull scoffed. "You expect us to believe they went from primitive space travel to technology that can defeat our cruisers in 6 months?" Reed looked at him steadily. "No, Councillor. I believe they had the potential all along. We simply gave them the motivation to develop it faster than they might have otherwise." "They're just primitive apes with a lucky ship," Trull insisted. Reed shook his head. "With respect, Councillor, that kind of thinking is exactly what makes humans dangerous. They're used to being underestimated." As the Council argued, a new message arrived from Earth's sector. 7 unknown vessels had been detected leaving the human system, heading for Imperial space. The Empire was about to face something they had never encountered before. A species that refused to know its place. The Starlight Hub was the pride of the Empire's trading network. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds passed through it daily, bringing goods from across the galaxy. The massive space station gleamed with lights, its many docking arms extending like the petals of a flower. Governor Mars watched from his office as ships came and went. The view never failed to remind him of the Empire's greatness. Today, however, his mind was troubled by reports of the human ship that had disabled 3 Imperial cruisers. "Primitive species getting lucky," he muttered to himself. "Nothing to worry about." His assistant rushed into the office without knocking, face pale. "Governor, 7 unknown ships have appeared at the edge of the system." Mars frowned. "Unknown. Check the registry." "They're not in any registry, sir, and they're not responding to identification requests." A cold feeling spread through Mars's chest. "Show me." On the large screen in his office, 7 dark ships appeared. They were different sizes and shapes, but all shared the same angular design and strange surface patterns as the thunder of Terra. "Human vessels," Mars whispered. "Impossible," his assistant said. "The human system is 2 weeks away at top speed. They were detected leaving Earth just yesterday. Before Mars could respond, an alarm sounded. The ships were moving toward the hub at incredible speed, bypassing all the standard approach vectors and security checkpoints. Mars slammed his hand on the emergency button. All military vessels, intercept those ships. Hub defenses, prepare to fire. The hub's protection fleet, 15 Imperial warships, moved to form a blockade. Weapon systems across the station powered up, ready to destroy any threat. On the lead human vessel, Admiral Miller stood calmly on the bridge. Unlike the Thunder of Terra, which had been built in secret, these ships had been constructed in the open over the past 6 months. Each incorporated technology reverse-engineered from studying the debris left behind when the Imperial ships first arrived at Earth. "They're moving to intercept," reported his first officer. 15 warships, and the hub's defense systems are activating. Miller nodded. Just as expected. Implement Phase 2. Across the 7 human ships, strange bulges on their hulls began to glow. The Imperial sensors couldn't identify the energy signature, but the readings were off the charts. "Fire warning shots," ordered the Imperial fleet commander. Energy beams lanced out from the Imperial ships, deliberately aimed to miss the human vessels. It was standard procedure: show force first, destroy if needed. But the human ships didn't change course. Instead, the glowing sections of their hulls suddenly released what looked like hundreds of small objects. "What are those?" asked the Imperial commander. His question was answered seconds later when the objects spread out in a complex pattern, then activated. A web of energy formed between them, creating a barrier. The Imperial warning shots hit this barrier and were absorbed completely. "Impossible," the commander shouted. "Fire all weapons." The full might of 15 Imperial warships unleashed on the approaching human fleet. Enough firepower to level a city struck the energy web, and did nothing. On the hub, Governor Mars watched in horror as the human ships passed through the Imperial blockade unharmed. Their energy web had absorbed or deflected every shot. "Activate the hub's defense grid," he ordered, voice shaking. The hub's weapons were even more powerful than those on the warships. They fired, filling space with deadly energy beams. This time, the human ships responded differently. Instead of absorbing the attack, they released new objects from their hulls. These devices attached themselves to the energy beams and rode them back to their source, like surfers on waves. When they reached the hub's weapon emplacements, they detonated. One by one, the hub's defenses went silent. The human ships surrounded the hub, but made no move to attack. Instead, a communication request came through. With trembling hands, Governor Mars accepted it. Admiral Miller appeared on screen. "Governor Mars, this is Admiral Miller of the Earth Defense Alliance. Your hub and its inhabitants will not be harmed if you cooperate." What do you want?" Mars asked, trying to maintain his dignity. "I want you to deliver a message to Emperor Dorn. Humanity is willing to negotiate peace, but only as equals. We will not become subjects of your empire." Mars couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You expect the Emperor to negotiate with primitives who have barely left their home system?" Miller smiled slightly. "Look around you, Governor. Your fleet couldn't stop us. Your hub's defenses couldn't stop us. And we didn't destroy any of them, though we could have. Does that seem primitive to you?" Before Mars could answer, Miller continued, "We'll be leaving now. You have 1 standard month to deliver our message and receive a response. After that, we will consider your silence as rejection of peace talks." The communication ended. The human ships disengaged, formed up, and then, to the astonishment of everyone watching, simply vanished. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Dorn sat on his crystal throne, facing the emergency session of the High Council. The mood was grim. 7 human ships bypassed our most advanced detection systems, neutralized 15 warships and a hub's defenses, then disappeared using technology we can't explain, summarized High Counselor Vren. "This cannot be ignored. Intelligence Officer Reed stepped forward again. "If I may, Your Majesty, I've completed my analysis of human warfare and psychology." The Emperor nodded for Reed to continue. Reed activated a holographic display showing Earth and its various nations. Humans develop differently from most species in the galaxy. While most evolved toward unity and cooperation, humans maintain separate nations with different governments, beliefs, and military doctrines. "How is their disunity relevant?" asked a counselor. "Because it created constant competition," Reed explained. Each nation tried to outdo the others. Their technologies, strategies, and weapons evolved rapidly through this competition. When we arrived and threatened all humans equally, they united, bringing together all these different approaches to warfare. Reed switched the display to show human history. And there's more. Throughout their history, humans have shown an unusual ability to develop asymmetric warfare methods, ways for the weaker side to defeat the stronger. "You're suggesting they found our weaknesses?" Emperor Dorn asked, speaking for the first time. Reed nodded. "I believe so, Your Majesty. Our military doctrine has remained largely unchanged for centuries because it's been effective against all known enemies. Humans studied our approach and developed specific countermeasures." High Counselor Trell, who had dismissed the human threat earlier, now looked concerned. "Our spies report their ship production has increased exponentially. They're building vessels with designs no Imperial engineer would consider." "Because they think differently," Reed said. "What we see as impractical, they see as an advantage. Our standardized designs make our weaknesses consistent and predictable." Emperor Dorn stood, his tall figure casting a shadow across the chamber. "What do you suggest, Intelligence Officer Reed?" Reed took a deep breath. "We have two options, Your Majesty. We can launch a full-scale attack on Earth immediately, before they build more ships. Or, the Emperor prompted. "Or we can do something the Empire hasn't done in 1,000 years. Negotiate with a species as equals." The council chamber erupted in shouts of outrage. Emperor Dorn raised a hand for silence. "I will consider both options," he said. "In the meantime, prepare our fleets. If we must crush these humans, we will do so with overwhelming force." As the council was dismissed, Ambassador Krell approached Reed. "You actually admire these humans, don't you?" Reed looked at him steadily. "I respect what they've accomplished in 6 months. Don't you?" "They're still just primitives who got lucky," Krell insisted. Reed shook his head. "That kind of thinking is exactly why they've surprised us twice now. The question is, what will they do next?" In orbit around Jupiter, hidden from Imperial sensors, 30 human ships gathered. Each one was unique, incorporating different technologies and strategies. At the center of the fleet, the Thunder of Terra, now upgraded with new systems, prepared to lead humanity's next move. The Empire had not seen anything yet. The Imperial Palace on Dorn Prime was the most heavily guarded place in the galaxy. No unauthorized ship had ever entered its airspace. No foreign diplomat had ever arrived without months of security checks and preparations. Until today. Emperor Dorn stood by the window of his private chamber, watching as a single black ship descended through the clouds. It was smaller than Imperial diplomatic vessels, but moved with a grace that suggested advanced technology. "Your Majesty," said his chief advisor, "are you certain about this meeting? Many on the council feel it gives these humans too much importance." Dorn didn't turn from the window. "They disabled 3 cruisers without destroying them. They neutralized our hub defenses and 15 warships. If we don't speak with them now, we may soon have no choice at all." The human ship landed in the palace courtyard. Unlike the smooth, rounded shapes of Imperial vessels, it was all sharp angles and unusual protrusions. Guards surrounded it immediately, weapons ready. A door opened in the side of the ship. A single human emerged, tall for their species, with dark skin and short gray hair streaked with white. She wore a simple outfit, dark pants and jacket with a single silver pin on the collar. Ambassador Wilson, announced the palace protocol officer, representative of Earth. Emperor Dorn met the human in the small audience chamber, not the great hall where he usually received visitors. This room was designed for private conversations, with just 12 guards instead of 100. Wilson bowed slightly as she entered. Emperor Dorn, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Dorn studied the human. She showed no fear, no awe at standing before the ruler of thousands of worlds. Your ships have caused quite a stir in my empire, Ambassador Wilson. Wilson nodded. We hoped they would get your attention, though we would have preferred a peaceful first contact rather than having one of our outposts destroyed. That was unfortunate, Dorn said, not quite apologizing. Tell me, how did your species develop such advanced technology so quickly? Our reports from just 6 months ago showed you barely able to reach your system's edge. Wilson smiled slightly. We've always had the potential. Your arrival simply accelerated things. Explain, Dorn commanded. Wilson began walking slowly around the room, looking at the ancient artifacts displayed on pedestals. Your empire evolved gradually over thousands of years, correct? Technology developed at a steady pace, each new generation built upon the last. That is the natural order of progress, Dorn agreed. For most species, perhaps. Wilson stopped at a display showing the evolution of imperial starships from the earliest designs to modern cruisers. Humans are different. Our history is marked by sudden leaps forward, usually during times of great need or threat. She turned to face the emperor. What took your civilization 1,000 years to develop, we sometimes accomplish in decades. Not because we're smarter, but because we're less patient. Dorn frowned. That doesn't explain the capabilities of your ships, doesn't it? Wilson raised an eyebrow. Your ambassador Krell mentioned your empire has existed for 10,000 years. In that time, how many truly different approaches to spaceship design have you tried? The question caught Dorn off guard. Our designs are refined and proven effective. And predictable, Wilson added. Your ships are all variations on the same basic principles. Your weapons all use similar energy signatures. Your shields all operate on the same frequencies. Dorn felt a chill. She was describing weaknesses he had never considered. Wilson continued. Humans had dozens of competing nations before your arrival. Each developed different technologies and approaches. When we united against a common threat, we combined these diverse methods. And what of your ship's unusual design? Dorn asked. The strange shapes and patterns serve a purpose. Wilson nodded. Of course. Your sensors are calibrated to detect certain shapes and energy signatures. Our ships are designed specifically to confuse those sensors. The shapes that seem random to you create blind spots in your targeting systems. Dorn walked to his throne and sat down, processing this information. You're saying you built ships specifically designed to counter Imperial technology? Yes, Wilson said simply. And we did it in 6 months because we had to. While Ambassador Wilson met with the Emperor, Imperial Intelligence Officer Reed was meeting with human technical experts on a neutral space station. His mission was to understand human capabilities better. Your ships seemed designed to take damage, Reed observed, looking at the schematics the humans had shared. Most Imperial vessels are built to avoid being hit at all. Dr. Park, the lead human engineer, nodded. Different philosophies. Your ships are like finely tuned instruments, perfect when working properly, but easily disrupted. Ours are built expecting to be damaged. Explain, Reed said, echoing his Emperor's command from across the galaxy. Dr. Park brought up a hologram of a human ship. Triple redundant systems, compartmentalized design. If one section is destroyed, the others can function independently. Your ships have central control systems. Disable that, and the whole ship is useless. Reed studied the design, but this makes no sense. The efficiency is terrible. The power requirements must be enormous. It's not about efficiency, Dr. Park said. It's about survival. Humans evolved on a high-gravity planet with extreme weather and dangerous predators. We're built to endure damage and keep functioning. Reed looked at the human with new understanding. Your ships reflect your biology. Exactly. Your species evolved in more stable environments. Your ships reflect that. Optimal performance under ideal conditions. Reed made notes on his datapad. And these unusual weapon systems. Dr. Park showed schematics of several different devices. Again, diverse approaches. Some disrupt rather than destroy. Some use your own energy against you. We found that your ships emit specific frequencies we can target. How did you discover this so quickly? Reed asked. Dr. Park smiled. We examined the debris from your scout ships. Every piece told us something about how they worked. And human scientists have always been good at learning from small samples. Back on Dorn Prime, Emperor Dorn was reaching a difficult conclusion. So you suggest our empire should simply leave Earth alone? He asked Ambassador Wilson, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. Wilson remained calm. I suggest a mutually beneficial relationship, trade, cultural exchange, security cooperation, as equals. The alternative would be costly for both sides. You threaten the empire. Dorn's guards tensed. Not a threat. An assessment. Wilson's expression remained neutral. Our spies report you're gathering a fleet to attack Earth. You believe overwhelming numbers will succeed where smaller forces failed. Dorn didn't confirm or deny this. Consider this, Wilson continued. The ships you've encountered so far were built in 6 months, with limited understanding of your technology. What will we build in another 6 months, with what we've learned since then? Before Dorn could respond, the palace alarm sounded. His chief advisor rushed into the room. Your Majesty, we've detected 30 human vessels appearing near our primary shipyard in Sector 5. Dorn stared at Wilson. Is this your doing? Wilson looked genuinely surprised. No. Our agreement was that no military moves would be made during these talks. The advisor's communication device chimed again. Your Majesty, the human ships are not attacking. They're holding position just outside weapons range. Admiral Blake is requesting to speak with you. Dorn stood. So your talk of peace was a distraction while your fleet positioned for attack. Wilson shook her head. No, Emperor Dorn. I think Admiral Blake is making sure I return safely. She straightened her jacket. The question now is whether you see this as a threat or as proof of what I've been saying. Which is? Dorn asked coldly. That humans can be powerful friends or dangerous enemies, and that we prefer to be friends, but we will not be subjects. Emperor Dorn looked at this small human who dared to speak to him as an equal, then at the report showing 30 human warships that had appeared without warning near his most valuable shipyard. For the first time in his 300-year rule, Emperor Dorn faced a decision he never expected to make. Negotiate with a species as equals, or risk a war he wasn't certain he could win. Emperor Dorn stared at the holographic display showing his mighty fleet. 500 warships gathered near the jump point to the human system. It was the largest force assembled in a century. The fleet is ready, Your Majesty, reported Grand Admiral Vex, recently promoted after his encounter with the Thunder of Terra. We await your command to begin the attack. Dorn nodded slowly. Despite Ambassador Wilson's warnings, he had decided to proceed with the attack plan. The Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. It would not be challenged by newcomers. You understand your orders, Admiral Vex? Dorn asked. Yes, Your Majesty. We will overwhelm their defenses with our numbers and firepower. Earth will be brought under Imperial control. Intelligence Officer Reed stood nearby, his face carefully neutral. Your Majesty, I must again advise caution. My analysis suggests. Dorn raised a hand to silence him. I've heard your concerns, Officer Reed, but the Empire cannot appear weak. The humans have forced my hand. He turned to Vex. Begin the operation. Vex bowed and left to command the fleet. Reed remained, looking troubled. You disagree with my decision, Dorn stated. Reed chose his words carefully. I believe we underestimate these humans at our peril, Your Majesty. Dorn walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Perhaps, but sometimes a show of overwhelming force is necessary. 500 ships against their 30. The outcome is inevitable. The Imperial fleet exited the jump point halfway between Earth and Mars. The massive ships formed a perfect attack formation, weapons ready. To their surprise, the space ahead was empty. No human fleet waited to meet them. Scan the system, Vex ordered from his flagship, the inevitable Victory. Find their ships. Officers worked at their stations, searching for the human vessels. Sir, multiple contacts detected near Earth's moon, reported the sensor officer. The display showed 30 human ships in a loose formation. They were not running or hiding. Vex smiled. Just as we expected. All ships advance at attack speed. The Imperial fleet moved forward as one, a wall of unstoppable power. Victory seemed certain. Then the unexpected happened again. The human ships moved to meet them, not in a defensive wall, but in small, scattered groups that made no tactical sense to Imperial military doctrine. What are they doing? Asked Vex's second-in-command. That formation leaves them vulnerable. They're desperate, Vex replied. Their tactics make no difference against our numbers. Continue the advance. As the fleets closed, the human ships suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds, darting between the Imperial formations. Sir, they're deliberately letting themselves be surrounded, reported a tactical officer. Vex frowned. This wasn't desperation. This was a strategy he didn't understand. All ships, open fire, he ordered. The space between the fleets lit up as hundreds of Imperial ships fired their weapons. But the human vessels moved in ways that confused targeting systems, taking hits but seemingly absorbing the damage without slowing. Direct hit on human vessel designated Alpha 3, reported an officer. But it's still operational. Damage appears minimal. Vex watched in growing concern as the human ships penetrated deeper into his formation. Focus fire on Thunder of Terra, he commanded, spotting Admiral Blake's flagship. The Thunder of Terra was different from when Vex had first encountered it. New systems and structures had been added to its hull, making it look even more alien. Multiple Imperial ships fired at the Thunder of Terra. The human ship took hits that should have vaporized it, yet it continued, trailing debris but still moving purposefully. Sir, human ships are targeting our command vessels, shouted the tactical officer. Vex realized too late what was happening. The humans weren't trying to win a battle of attrition. They were targeting the leadership. The Thunder of Terra accelerated straight toward the inevitable Victory, taking fire from all sides, but refusing to be stopped. Maximum power to forward shields, Vex ordered. But he knew what was coming. When the Thunder of Terra reached his ship, it extended those same mechanical arms Vex had seen months ago. They latched onto specific points of the flagship's hull, bypassing shields by making direct contact. Systems across the inevitable Victory began to fail. Weapons went offline. Communications cut out. Even life support flickered. A single communication channel remained open. Admiral Blake's face appeared on Vex's screen. Commander Vex, Blake said calmly, despite the battle raging around them. Your flagship is disabled. 20% of your fleet has been neutralized. This can end now, without further loss of life. Vex stared at the human in disbelief. How is this possible? We outnumber you more than 15 to 1. Numbers aren't everything, Blake replied. Your ships are all the same strengths, same weaknesses. Ours are built to counter yours specifically. Vex looked at his tactical display. Across the battlefield, human ships were targeting Imperial command vessels. Despite taking heavy damage, they pressed on, disabling rather than destroying. What are your terms? Vex asked, knowing he had no choice. The same as before, Blake said. Earth remains independent. The Empire recognizes humans as equals, not subjects, a peace treaty that respects both our civilizations. Before Vex could respond, a new voice joined the channel. "I accept those terms, Admiral Blake." Emperor Dorn appeared on the screen, his expression solemn. "Your Majesty," Vex asked in surprise. "I've been watching the battle, Admiral Vex," Dorn said, "and I've come to a conclusion. An empire that cannot adapt does not deserve to survive." Intelligence Officer Reed was right about these humans. Blake nodded respectfully to the Emperor. "A wise decision, Your Majesty. Shall we discuss the details?" 1 year later, the imperial capital world of Dorn Prime hosted representatives from 50 species for the signing of the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. At the center of the gathering stood Emperor Dorn and President Ward of Earth. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," Dorn announced to the assembled diplomats. "For 10,000 years, the Empire has ruled through strength. But these humans have taught us something important. True strength comes from adaptation and cooperation, not just conquest." The treaty recognized the independence of all sentient species and established a council where all would have equal voice. The Empire would maintain its territory, but no longer expand through force. Intelligence Officer Reed, now promoted to Director of Galactic Relations, stood with Ambassador Wilson as they watched the signing ceremony. "You never wanted war, did you?" Reed asked quietly. Wilson shook her head. "We just wanted to be treated as equals. Humans have had enough of our own wars to know their cost." "And yet you built warships that could defy our best technology," Reed observed. "We hoped for peace but prepared for war," Wilson said simply. "It's the human way." In a busy spaceport on an Imperial core world, a father and child watched as a dark, angular ship docked alongside the smooth Imperial vessels. "Father, what kind of ship is that?" the child asked, pointing at the unusual design. "It looks so different from ours." "That's a human warship," the father explained. "They joined the galactic community recently." The child stared in wonder as humans disembarked, mixing with other species on the dock. "They look so ordinary. But their ships are amazing. Is it true they defeated an Imperial fleet?" The father nodded, remembering the news reports from a year ago. "They did, and thank the stars they chose to be our friends rather than our conquerors." A young human officer noticed the child staring and smiled, offering a friendly wave. The child waved back enthusiastically. "Maybe when I grow up, I can visit Earth," the child said hopefully. "I think that would be possible now," the father replied. "The galaxy is a very different place than it was a year ago. And I think it's better for all of us." As they watched, more human ships appeared in the distance, each one unique, a testament to humanity's endless creativity and determination. The Empire had ruled for 10,000 years, but in just 1 year, humans had changed everything. And this was just the beginning.